Welcome to the Economic Roundtable on the network service of Radio Nigeria. I am Yahya Umar. On this edition of the program, we shall be having a conversation on employable education as it concerns our great country, Nigeria. Yaseer Abdullahi is our guest on the program. He's a mechanical engineer, a chef with a channel on the social media, a writer with 5 books, 2 already published, and founder of an educational platform targeting writers. This is a young man with tall dreams. Yaseer Abdullahi, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Yaseer, a lot of people would say we should have probably gone back to the drawing board and taken a look at what you used to obtain. In the past, car manufacturing industries in Nigeria, textile manufacturing industries in Nigeria, tire manufacturing companies in Nigeria used to target institutions, polytechnics, and what have you to get their employable staff from there. Someone told me that they used to compare the curriculum that they expect schools to churn out.
So personally, I feel a lot of things used to work back in the day because we weren't fully in control. We still had some foreign involvement in everything. And what confuses me till today is if you've experienced something good, why not continue something good? Why do you have to degrade what used to be good? So yes, during our parents' time, education was good. They would even often tell me stories about how the economy was built on, pyramids, groundnut pyramids, and mostly trade. So it even shocked me that during the COVID-19, Nigeria didn't come out as one of the biggest food exporters because people didn't have food outside the country and we had plenty of food. And I don't know what happened. We just have poverty in the country, we have hunger in the country, and we still have so much food in the country. So a lot of things don't make sense with the way the country is. People just want to make money. They don't want to understand how to make the money. They just want to make money quickly. And that also affects the goals for the people that go to school.
There's still to be a disconnection. Yes. There's a disconnect between the production aspect of our economy and the educational part of our economy. The people that are having the companies in the past used to say, okay, we are looking for engineers, or we are looking for technicians, or technical assistants, or whatever they're looking for in this field with knowledge in these areas.
What I'm trying to start is called targeted education, but I know it exists already. Something like vocational schools where you just go in to learn exactly what you need to learn and go out and apply it. Today you see an IT student learning biology in his first year. I don't see how that makes sense to me. But because the way the system is, they want to waste so much of your time in school and prevent how early you begin to get work that they make you learn things you don't need to learn. Because I don't understand why an IT student is learning how life works. It doesn't make sense. We're learning about plants when you should learn more about the computers. So they're wasting more of your time. And I feel targeted education is how these things start. You assess the students or whoever from grassroots. You don't wait till they are grown, because some of these things need to be implanted while you're growing up, because every child absorbs like a sponge. Once you've grown up, you have so much in your head going on that you don't really have time to even make logical decisions, because you just need to make it out of the situation you are. As a child, you're ready to take in everything. So I just think everything needs to be taken from scratch. If you have kids, try to find out skills and talent. And I think that's what parents fail to understand today. Some kids have talent and they are kind of manipulated and convinced to go for what works in the country. This is the problem for Nigeria now. You have something good to offer, but because it doesn't work in the country, you're practically useless. You need to go to a different country to apply it. So what I think is the generational gap between the old people and the young people today is the main problem that's happening now. Why? The old people in the country currently, I don't want to call them the elders, they developed the country, kudos to them. But now things have changed, times have changed now. We have the experience that they can never understand. So they begin to just apply their archaic ways. I understand experience is fine, but you can collaborate as well. You can offer the young person what you have learned and he can apply it and add on to where to go to next one, because he has the advantage of age and years ahead of him and the old person doesn't. They have done their part, good. But that's the problem we have now today. People and their ego, they don't want to be told no. What they say stands. That's the problem that happens in this country now.
Our problem in this country, and sometimes a lot of people will say in Africa, will be that old generation are refusing to consciously pave the way for the young to take over. They're, in your own words, stubbornly staying on what they think is the hill of the honey hill, or the mountain filled up with honey. And they're feeling that the only thing that will make them descend is nature when death comes calling. And the only catalyst that they feel is keeping them up there is if they can loot as much money as possible. Every other thing is solved.
Yes.
The way we are going now, that formula does not seem to apply. The way the world is moving now, it is not just having trillions of naira in your account. It takes more than that to keep the international attention on yourself. Can you, since you're a writer of many books, I'm sure you get my picture. How would you explain that in your own words and perspective?
So allow me to think for a second. But just recently, I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine concerning how other countries around the world are corrupt as well, but things are working in the country. So personally, you can have millions of dollars in your account. It doesn't bother me so long as things are working in the country. I believe maybe you're not getting paid enough for what you're doing, but still do the work. But the way this country is, people just want to take the money for the work they're meant to do and then not do the work. So that's what annoys me the most. And this also inspired a story I almost wrote, but because of the way the country is now, if you write some things, they will just probably come to your house and take you out. I don't know. So there's a story I was writing based on the system of how Nigeria works. It's like a 3-class system where the rich exist in a part of, so the world is like a flat plane. It's a fictional book. So the rich exist in the highest part of the place. Then the middle class is where is in the middle world, and then the lower scrappy land is where the poor people live. So, and then along the story, you begin to find out how someone from the poor place makes it up there, but then they realize he's not one of them, so he shouldn't be there. And the concept of being rich in this country, from what I understand, is they don't want everybody to be successful. They just want to be successful while someone is miserable. That's only when they know they are successful. Only if someone is suffering. But they don't want to be in a whole mist of successful people. So that's my take on this.
Absolutely. It's quite visible in terms of bringing out the pictures from your explanation there, trying to picturize what you're talking about in my head and in the head of the listener. I'm sure we're able to look at, that being expatiated in your own words, which is quite clear. Now, let's now look at it in terms of trying to provide solutions. We'll look at the way forward in a moment after this break. You are listening to the Economic Roundtable on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Let's take a break. This is the Economic Roundtable on the network service of Radio Nigeria. And my guest on this edition of the program is Yaseer Abdullahi, a young man with a lot in his kitty, a mechanical engineer, a chef with a channel on the social media, a writer of 5 books, 2 already published, founder of a platform targeting writers, particularly. Now, I had an earlier discussion with him, and it was particularly for now, more to come. So this young man has a lot of energy to go, and I think we should be, if we say in this country, we should be listening to the young people. This is one young man that forms a chunk of that young people were targeting in terms of trying to get what they have in their heads to get on Nigeria to the position in the world it should rightly be. So Yaseer Abdullahi, let's look at how to groom the child. Now that some of the children are graduating, some have graduated, some are already done with their NYSC, some have, are just coming into the NYSC system. Some curricula of various schools are being chiseled in such a way to find a near ideal platform for children to suffer. Where do you think, if you are asked to proffer a solution to the educational system in Nigeria, especially the area of employable education, for which the quest is quite high now, how would you want to look at the various strata I've enunciated?
So before I answer that, I will start with a problem I encountered sometime early this year. We're trying to organize a writing contest, as the other company I told you about. We're trying to organize a writing contest for kids because that's how we used to draw in young talent. And you'd be shocked to find out that one of the guys with the highest point was she was 14 years old. So you can see kids are brilliant today, and they just need to be allowed more space to do what they need to do. So I got to speaking with the school owner because I needed to get more mentorship from people if I do what I wanted to do. And I began to ask her about the curriculums in school and how I want to develop mine and be an educationist. And she told me straight up that in Nigeria, the way everything is set up is they won't let you do what they don't want. So basically, when they are surveying schools and checking the curriculums, they have set up what schools need to follow. So even if your new curriculum benefits the kids, or it doesn't benefit the people setting up the curriculum, they would scrap it. So we had a long discussion concerning that. So I went back to the drawing board with my team. We began to discuss on how this can be implemented. And then someone from the team suggested, why don't you start from teaching kids morals and norms? Because when we were much younger, we used to have things as basic as social studies, but that's when you've already aged. But these things should be learned from much, much younger now, because you find kids today, they don't have morals, no respect for people. They just, they are good in class, they get A's and everything, but then when they're outside class and to relate to people now, they're terrible. They're very rude. They don't understand when to speak and when not to speak. So I think morals should be taught right from when they're kids in school, not at home, because at home is a necessity for the parents to teach their kids that. But in school also it can be implemented. There could be a culture class or they should name it something, I don't know, but where the kids go in to learn morals, to learn how to relate to people, to learn things like public speaking, start right from the age when they start. Then you can begin to go into the logical 1 + 1, 2 + 2 things, and eventually you can do, like I told you before, the talent hunt, find the strength and weaknesses right when they're young. I know kids can't think for themselves, but that's why the teachers are there to think for them and find out where the kid is going, which direction to guide them to. So many of us have started out to be, let's say, for example, I want to be an engineer, but I end up being a doctor because eventually I realized that is not my path. So I think with the guidance of that step I told you, morality, then the logic bit, then the guidance, that helps the kid to understand even before the NECO in Just 3, before they go to Just 3 and start thinking, should I go for art or science? They already know from primary 2 that, okay, I want to be this because of this. And that's where...
Who in your views, let me just take that chunk now, who in your views should take care of that guidance? The teacher, the parent, or some kind of guidance counselor? I remember those days that they used to bring in some guidance counselor kind of position in various educational institutions in Nigeria. But this particular position seems to be a bit no more there. So how do you want that part of guidance to be implemented if you were to have your way?
I think the counseling bit is a very professional thing on its own, which is also a good suggestion, but the kids aren't always with the counselors. They are mostly with the teachers and people at home, mostly all the time. And you begin to copy what you're around. You reflect what's around you all the time. So I would suggest is the teachers and then the parents. But when things get extreme, the counselor can be involved. But at the basic level, the teachers are fine. The teachers and the parents are good enough. I don't need to see a 6-year-old, 8-year-old going to a counselor with headache. They don't know what they want in life because they're not meant to know what they want in life at that time. They're meant to be guided from class with the teacher and then going back home to maybe have that conversation at home. I think that's where the guidance comes through. Home and the teacher itself, not the counseling yet.
How do you expect that to be monitored? The teacher should monitor it or the parent or both?
It's a two-way thing, and that's why duality works all the time. If the teacher does something, the parents can review. If the parents do something, the teachers can review. They are not necessarily on the same team because they both want to be on the good side of the child. And the child knows what's good for him or her. That's why you see some kids, they stay away from certain people because they know they don't want to be there. And you see sometimes they're very jumpy. When you come, they just want to be around you sometimes. And kids are very expressive. They're very, very expressive. So I just feel you can watch the kid, but you just know that things aren't going in school. Maybe you see the kid comes to school without doing the assignment all the time. You know something is wrong at home. And then maybe the kid is always coming back home frowning from school. Something is wrong in school. So you see, the kid just gives you the answer. You don't need to communicate actually. So when you study the kid, you go complain and you have a back and forth. As adults, you reach a conclusion that makes sense for the kid.
Reaching the conclusion in that aspect, because we're going to take it from that end and then move forward. Reaching the conclusion in that aspect, is it a parents-teacher association of forum that should give us that conclusion, or a teacher, parent, principal, or headmaster, mini meeting, sort of a little meeting between the three, or comparing notes? Or how do you want, because there has to be somewhere where the stock is taken, stock taking moment. This is what I observed about the child, then teacher, this is what I observed about that. Somebody has to put an icing on the cake, and a proper decision on the way forward has to be taken. Can you provide a solution in that aspect? I don't like any of my topics left uncooked.
Okay.
So can we just cook that part?
Okay, so if you say the parent-teacher association, the meeting already it exists, but that's for the parents in general, and there are particular times in the schedule for that. So I think the option you mentioned with the head teacher, the parent, and the teacher with the key meeting, it makes most sense, because you practically have a judge now, and then you have the people presenting their cases, and then the child who is supposedly the victim of the case. I think that solution works more, because you now have a neutral party as a deciding factor, which is the headmaster or mistress.
Okay, now as we move forward from where we stopped, they're taking it over from that end now. We're only addressing the part of a child that's coming into school for the first time. Can you in 1 minute see if we can tidy up that child sort of route, on its path to employable education, before we now pick that one that is in the middle, and then we'll pick that one that's already serving, and then or maybe the one that's just about to go to service, or the one that's already serving, or where we cannot do any other thing but just to use what we have. So let's follow this one that is now where a guidance counselor that is supposed to be now there. There's supposed to be three. That's more like hinged on a tripod. The principal, the teacher, and the parent. Let's see now, after that, trying to put the child on a particular path, psychologically and practically. How does the child move on?
Okay,
to graduation.
So from the path, from a child, all that child needs is nurturing to understand where to go to. After that, they move on to secondary school, and then to university. Now that's when they need structure.
You remember in Nigeria, it is broken into JSS and then SSS.
Yes.
So how can you like?
Okay. So let me start from nursery school.
Good.
From nursery school all the way to primary 5 or 6, and I think 6 has been cancelled for now. So to primary 5, all they need is nurturing and the logic system I mentioned earlier. So the morals, the nurturing, and so they can understand people's skills. That's all. That's the basic. Then once they go into JSS 1 to JSS 3, now they need to focus on the brief logic skills they learned at the end. So this is all school related now. They're not more doing people skills. They're more onto the school thing now, because they're about to go on the path of their journey, which is just their life that they don't share with people, just their own path. Then after that, at the end of JSS3, that's when they decide to be either science students or art students. And if I take you back to the primary school that I said before, the targeted education, if they're taught to understand which is good for them since that time, and they had a passion for it, it would be easy for them to realize, I want to be a doctor, I want to just do science or art. They don't have that problem, because even me, I had a problem in JSS. I didn't know what I wanted to be. So, and I know many people have that problem too. So you see, it has narrowed it down to already knowing you want to be a science student or an art student. Now the big step starts now, the path that leads you to university. Many people still change between SS1 to SS3 because of they realize, okay, maybe your passion is not what you can adapt to. So you need to look for what works for you. That's when you begin to make decisions that make sense. Now you're in a decision-making stage now. What works for you? Because yes, just because you like something doesn't mean it's good for you. You need to understand how to maneuver it. So now in university, continuing that same journey. Now you're planning for the big life now. You've finished all the school stuff. You want to be in the real deal. All you've worked for, the engineering, like in my case now, you're starting from scratch to understand, okay, this is how things work in reality. Before we just look at it and you don't really appreciate what is around you. You just see things, but you don't understand these things. So I think that's when you begin to mature in terms of what is around you and the perception of life itself. And then afterwards, during NYSC, personally, it could have gone better, but the way this country is, NYSC is meant to be a very exciting thing where you get to practice what you've studied, but then you see us being put at schools to teach English language as an engineer. So now that is where there's a problem for me. But in a hypothetical working country, I will continue with my example. So during NYSC, you get placed in a place that you've studied, what you've studied, to practice more, and then that guarantees you a good CV now to look for a good job. Even the people you've worked with can retain you at the end of the day. So you see the employability factor has increased for yourself because they have seen your merit. It's not who you know. They have seen what you can offer them as a company now. So, and then lastly, post the NYSC. So you said after NYSC as well, and what again?
No, and now we're there for the. Well, okay, I think we can leave that child alone now, since the child is already at the point of employment.
Yes.
Okay, can we now trace this child now that is just finishing probably primary school? You know where you mentioned a while ago that some of these subjects that are not on the path of the child should be dropped. Yeah. For instance, biology on the part of an engineer.
Yes.
To you, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
So, what part of the educational system should be dropping subjects that do not, tally with the trajectory of the child's passion?
I think the first thing we need to stop being afraid of in this country is how long do you stay in school for? I think it's fair to finish school in a year if you have studied all you need to learn. You don't have to stretch to be 5 years where you can just do it in 1 year. And I think that's where the problem starts from. I don't know who designed this educational system. I don't know. But I know globally, people spend almost the same amount of time. But the way it is in our country, which is what we're talking about now, some things are irrelevant. I spoke to a teacher. She said the same thing. If she was to teach civic education and social studies, if she had it her own way, she could fuse them and then bring in a new subject that would help the kids. So if you're seeing now, teachers and school owners are understanding there are some subjects that can be one, but they are split into different parts of the timetable just to waste the child's time. A child attention span is very short today. You now give the child nine periods in a day. They come back, they're tired. They probably do the assignment or they hide it in school and they say they don't have it. And you begin to see the changes I told you now. And when the child comes back from school and they're tired, you can tell they're unhappy. So,
wow. Now, let's finish. Let's tidy up this part. Okay. We're done with that child. That's potentially dropping subjects that are not in tandem or in tally with the child's trajectory. Let's look at this child that is just graduating now. Let's call him a secondary school, graduate. In quote, he just finishing the secondary school, taking the GCE or WASE, and about to move on to ONECO, about to move on to the higher institution. So quickly, can you just in 1 minute see what can you do to that child now as they go into higher institution with the present educational system in Nigeria? Some of them are moving to neighboring countries with Nigerians who have exactly this idea of what you have, establishing schools in neighboring countries. Our neighboring countries here, Nigerians have schools there. Those that have money that are doing exactly what they should have been doing inside the country, but there's no wherewithal. The atmosphere or the educational atmosphere is not conducive for them. So they go and implement it in other countries. And Nigerians collect visas with their international passport and move on to meet these other Nigerians outside the shores of this country to actualize their dreams. Now, our aim on the Economic Roundtable is to see if we are just speaking with the right person out there on the other side of this, radio. Let's just hope one person is listening out there that is part of the educational curriculum making system in this country that may just say the right thing at the right time, and then we get things adjusted in this country. The child just finishing secondary school, moving to the higher educational system, whether it's be it a polytechnic or college of education or a university. What would you advise that child that is basically listening, or probably their mentors listening right now?
Firstly, patience, because ASU, first of all, ASU doesn't want people to finish school. I don't know what they're benefiting from.
That's your view, isn't it?
Yes.
You're entitled to your views, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. ASU doesn't want people to finish school, and I think as a Nigerian, you know that they exist in the school that you're about to go into, so you can't fight off ASU. So you have to be patient at first. You need to, because I don't want people that, because I didn't study here. I didn't study, but I don't like to hear people saying, "Oh, I want to leave the country. I'm tired. I want to run out the country." I feel like the more we study here, the better we make the country. So I think that child should keep that in mind. I will endure the ASU thing, which might get better eventually, because the person that is listening to us now might affect the change, and you can push on, because you need to make your country better. These old people don't want to make it better. So if you endure, do what needs to be done, you can do that. Like the guy in Maiduguri that has renewable energy vehicles. You can see in a normal country, this boy would have been on the news every day. But I think he started in 2018 or 2020. People didn't know him till recently. So you see, they don't even talent hunt. They don't do they don't care anything. He's dropped out of school to do this thing. And this is someone that should be a motivation to kids like the one that just finished school now. Yes, you're advised to finish school and pursue your dreams. But most of the people that drop out from school in university, they've already found their path. And the whole point of school is to find your direction in life. So he knew at that stage he had learned all he needed. And look at him now, he's manufacturing his things. Of course, I advise him to still go back and finish up just to have that thing for whenever he needs to make a big move later in life. But he doesn't need it right now. So the child should just be patient, and that's it.
Okay, now, finally, as a way of, wrapping up the program, the companies, the industries out there, since you're a good researcher and you've been able to research before you write books, how would you like them to sort of work with educational universities in this country in order to have employable graduates coming out of our schools? Please, could you include this? We need people in this direction. We need people that will do. That was what used to happen back in the days. They just knew where to go and find their stuff. They go there, and in fact, they normally insist, give me your first 3 distinction students, or give me your first 5 distinction students, the next whatever. They just name the classes of grades that they want for their employable staff, and the school provide them with, because they've been working in tandem with. Polytechnics and institutions used to work like that, but this is a bit not there now. So can you just in 1 minute see if you can tidy that part in your head up?
Personally, I think what used to work before would always work forever. What never worked can never work. So what you just said now is what we need again. The relationship should resume. These companies should learn to go back to good schools and hire based on merit.
Good schools.
Yes, good schools, because they are very terrible schools that just want to make money. Because I've noticed now in Abuja in particular, school is the new business now. You just open a school, yes, you probably have 10 students, but you don't care because they're making money from it. So it's education is used as a form of scam in this country. People know that education is terrible, so they like to sell the idea that what they're selling now is the new and better form of education, and everyone wants the best for their children, so they go and bite that offer, and then they find out it's not what is said. So I just believe that we should just use what used to work before. Have the relationship, meet the schools, and also if they can't give what you need, put people in school to groom them on how you want them to turn out, and then take them and make them work for you.
Yaseer Abdullahi, on that note, we'll come to the end of come to the end of our program. Yaseer Abdullahi is a mechanical engineer. He's a chef. Yes, a chef. Yes, on the line of cooking with a channel on the social media. The writer of 5 books with 2 already published. This young man is also, he has a platform already, not that targeting. No, this platform targets writers. And there's a reason why he targets writers, getting to the root of the matter. And he's just beginning. He's just starting. More and more to come. Yaseer Abdullahi, we've not had all about you. We'll be bringing you back again on this program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being our guest, and thank you for the insights.
Thank you.
On behalf of Talatu Mohammed, who has been on the technical aspect of this program from beginning to the end of it, for this edition, I am Yahya Umar on behalf of the team saying goodbye.